Hello, this is Maria. So in our last class, we talked about Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, how he gave his famous speech of 7 years ago. Our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. He said this speech where? In Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. City Gettysburg, state Pennsylvania, right? And of course, it was all about the speech and the proclamation delivered 10 months before that on January 1st of 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation, like a document. Emancipation meaning to free, to liberate. He was liberating slaves. Yes. Like 3 million slaves were liberated because of this proclamation. So 10 months after that, November 19th, 1863, it's almost as if he is supporting it, right? With another speech. 7 years ago. He was trying to go back to 1776. Our fathers brought forth on this continent, North America, a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Of course, we had fun in our last class because we were talking about Elizabeth Stanton, how 15 years before that in 1848, she was saying, what about women, right? With her Declaration of Sentiments, which she said, along with Susan B. Anthony and Lucretia Mott and other females there, and also Frederick Douglass and William Lord Garrison supporting her, how she stated all men and women are created equal. Then 15 years after that, Abraham Lincoln continues on with the original Declaration of Independence. Something to ponder about, right? All right. And we also talked about how you can also express your opinions about the Declaration. Do you believe that all men and women are created equal? Remember the Declaration of Independence. Now the Declaration of Sentiments, that's Elizabeth Stanton, 1848. 1776, Declaration of Independence, Philadelphia, Independence Hall, right? Thomas Jefferson. He said all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But I think the former. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Are we created equal? How can we be created equal when we have so many different characteristics, right? From where we are born, from our ancestors, our language, our culture. So that's something also to think about. Now, that we are born with certain unalienable rights, right? Given to us by our Creator, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think we can all concur with that. At least I do. All right, so here we go. November 19th, 1863. The Gettysburg Address. Address like a home address? Like what's your address? The Gettysburg Address, like a speech. Instead of calling it the Gettysburg Speech, they put in there the Gettysburg Address. But don't think of it as, what's your address or what's your address? Think of it as speech. The Gettysburg Speech. The Gettysburg Address. On November 19, 1863, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech. The Gettysburg Address, the Gettysburg Address, given in the state of Pennsylvania on November 19, 1863. Abraham Lincoln gave a speech. On November 19, 1863, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the Gettysburg Address. 7 years ago, right? 7 years ago, our fathers brought upon this continent. Okay. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation. I hope that you write it down. it's important to write it down. The Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Speech. November 19th, 1863. And of course, you can always go back and sing that funny little melody so that you won't forget the words of 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And that should be stated just like that. All right, no excuses. November 19th, 1863, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, delivered his Gettysburg Address. Or Gettysburg Speech. Why Gettysburg? Because that's where he said it. That was the place. That was the location. All right. We hope you had fun and see you next time.